talk a little Jets because we were in the building at MetLife on Thursday night when Aaron Rodgers looked absolutely like MVP quality.
Surgical.
He was unbelievable.
He was unbelievable.
Thursday night versus the New England Patriots. Vintage Rodgers. The guy that everyone wanted. The guy to see. That was the quarterback they thought they were getting when they signed him last year. He was there on his return to MetLife. First real full start since blowing the Achilles. The atmosphere was off the chain.
It was electric.
Shout out our producer Ben took us.
Shout out Ben.
Season ticket holder. He's been on a grind his whole life, just like myself and you. Chargers, Bears, Jets.
You still have a team.
We're all grinders.
You still have a team. I'm in recovery.
When it comes to trying to get some W's.
It was incredible to watch.
It was awesome.
Do you feel like when we were there, I felt like it was a little nervous kind of opening night Broadway type vibes because he had come out last year and not even got through a series.
I felt just like excited energy, like everyone was amped up.
See, I felt like I think that first series, and then he goes play action, I believe, first play. Then he runs and spaceball Tani slides. That's when I think everyone kind of like, all right, we can settle in. And then I feel like I kind of watched Jets fans almost like, oh, Santa Claus isn't real. Oh, my gosh, Santa Claus might be real because they have a quarterback. They have a real offense. To me, it was kind of beautiful to watch.
It was awesome. I mean, I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers guy. I think he's the best quarterback I've ever seen in my entire life with my own two eyes. I say that Rodgers is the best. Brady's the greatest. That's how highly I think of Aaron Rodgers, and it was on full display. The Garrett Wilson relationship is only getting better. The relationship with Allen Lazard's already there from throughout the years of them playing ball together in Green Bay. So it was awesome to see. Only negative is that the flyover was late.
The flyover was late.
Late, bro.
You were the only one that called that out.
The flyover was late.
The Jets were late to the Jets,
let me set
which is
the
crazy.
table for everybody. Everybody's running out the tunnel. Smoke's coming out and introducing Aaron Rodgers.
This is Star Spangled Banner.
No, but saying he's the last guy to come out.
Right.
Then everyone sets up. They pull the big American flag over the field.
Right.
They sing the Star Spangled Banner. Star Spangled Banner's over. The flyover's supposed to come then.
And we're kind of like waiting.
I'm like, yo, is there a flyover, you think? And we're kind of just sitting there. They start to wrap up the American flag on the field.
And then here they come.
And then the choppers come over. 2 choppers come over late. Then they set off the fireworks. They were waiting for the fireworks. That's the
that was a little
only
weird.
Negative thing of that night. The flyover was a little late.
Yeah, I think it was a little negative for the Patriots offensively. Ramondre negative. I think he got 0.3 fantasy points, 23 yards. Brissett under 100 yards. Shout out you on that cap for a bad Brissett game.
Yeah.
It was a perfect storm, though. 7 Jets sacks. They stopped the run. We had questions about them stopping the run week 1, week 2. If that's what this team's going to be, what we saw, and I know it was beating up a younger brother in the division, but if they're going to play real defense, this dude, Braylon Allen, is a player. This guy is dripped in DOG. Him and Breece Hall, 1-2 punch. Nice to see Conklin get involved. I believe he had over 90 receiving. You start to get a couple of those guys.
Rock. That was Rodgers' number 1 look. Conklin.
Rodgers looked like, and we kind of noticed it in person. It's the nice thing about watching in person. It was almost like trying to think of maybe a basketball reference. It was like a shooting guard. His first couple threes went in. His shots on that night, and he was on fire. Now, do you think, cozy, as far as MVP conversation goes, is that too much of a hot take that he's in the MVP conversation?
No.
And what does he have to do?
He's going to be right there if they continue to look like that and win. Look, man, they got on a short week at home, they beat a bad New England Patriots team. Overall,
off in overtime, yeah.
So coming off the overtime game, and that was the big trend coming in.
Big trend.
Teams that come off of overtime, and they had to fly from Seattle and cross the country.
Short week.
To get back home on a short week to play primetime Aaron Rodgers and a good Jets defense. You're more time than not going to be in dire straits, and that's exactly what it looked like. Yeah. We saw a little Drake May, which was interesting.
Very interesting.
We snuck down.
We stayed for the over-under. I'm over here sweating under 38.5. You're like, yo, I'll buy that ticket from you right now.
Yeah,
I'll buy that ticket from you right now.
That was good.
I was stressing out, man.
That was the funniest thing about that game was watching
stressing
you.
the under.
Yeah, you were stressing.
Yeah.
Because they don't miss that field goal into the halftime. It's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
You're acting like, I mean, That was not a guaranteed under.
Yet
Your
again,
bet
Sean,
was a W.
Yeah, Sean was the voice of reason the entire time when you were freaking
Trying
out.
to talk me out of it. You're fine. You're fine. I was trying to get out of it. Anything else that jumped out as far as just, I guess, Jets culture? I mean, it had a little Salah Rodgers moment that kind of went viral. I mean, we didn't see it in the moment.
Right, but that's what we expect the Jets to look like. And I think a lot of people that were back in the Jets coming into the year are like, see, I told you that's what that team is capable of. And to then segue into, I think a lot of people that were on the Jets bandwagon coming in are feeling better, but who's your bandwagon squad? We're now through 3 weeks. Whose carriage are you jumping on here as we're in week 3?
I don't know how you don't go Pittsburgh Steelers. This is almost, let's talk this out, because you were a Justin Fields proponent, and you're starting to kind of look correct here as far as, did the Bears fail Fields? Or did Fields fail the Bears?
That's always the case. The Bears were obviously failed Fields, and they're failing Caleb Williams right now.
It just seems like outside of Tomlin, there's a lot of stylistic similarities between the Bears and the Steelers as far as a solid D. Now, obviously, the offensive line in Pittsburgh was in question last year. Certainly not the same scenario in Chicago. But bringing it back to the Pittsburgh Steelers here, first of all, don't start out 2-0 on the road. Haven't done that in quite a while. Hadn't won in Denver since before we were born. And they haven't started out 3-0 since 2020. But I'm looking at situational complementary ball. Number 1 in defensive points against, yards allowed. They're a top 3 rush team. They're in top 3 in the turnover differential department. That's all you kind of need to build around for a guy like Fields, as long as he can continue to not turn the ball over. I got to jump on the Steelers here. Just because company culture is finally matching quarterback, and sometimes that's a lot of it. You're seeing really this year being the theme. Darnold out in mini, which I believe is who you're high on here. But I'm looking at also Tomlin versus the AFC North last 5 years, 19-11, because the big question is, how's he going to do against Cleveland, Cincy, and Baltimore? But he's above sea level against them thus far. I got to jump on the Steelers bandwagon.
Yeah, I mean, and it helps.
Wave a little flag.
It helps when
terrible towel, excuse me.
Cincy is 0-3.
Right.
It helps when the Ravens seem to be the worst team in the entire NFL the last 2 seasons closing games. They just don't play the fourth quarter.
Hot take?
I don't understand
That's a strong take.
What do you mean? If you go look at the numbers of the team.
I mean, that Cowboys fourth quarter was
dude, they are
scary.
horrific in the fourth quarter. Every single week
they got to be up.
They were up. What do you mean? They were up 10 points against the Raiders and lost in the fourth. Then
this year
they were up 20 in the fourth, and almost they had to put together a drive to win the game. They are horrific in the fourth quarter. They've been that for 2 years now. So just so we don't go crazy here, the clear bandwagon squad is coming out of the toughest division in football.
Oh my God!
The NFC North, the Minnesota Vikings.
The toughest division in football.
Are you mad? The Lions.
I'm very mad.
The Lions are one of the best teams in the NFC. The Green Bay Packers have maybe the best coach in the entire NFL at the moment, in Matt LaFleur. What he's doing is unbelievable with Malik Willis and his game planning going into games. Then the Vikings are 3-0. Kevin O'Connell's a crazy offensive mind. Brian Flores' defense, let me tell you about.
I'm aware.
No. Listen again.
I just don't think it's the best division in football.
Listen again. Well, we'll talk about that here in a second. 3rd in EPA per play, Vikings defense. 1st in quarterback pressures. That seems like a big deal. 1st in sacks. 2 pass touchdowns, and they have 5 interceptions. First team since the 2001 Bucks to have 5+ sacks in 3 games. That's against Daniel Jones. Okay, throw that one out. You know where I'm at on Brock Purdy and the Niners. They are sensational. Coleridge, Stroud, where everybody loves Coleridge and that team, they locked all 3 of those quarterbacks up. Minnesota Vikings is the bandwagon squad because they have an offensive mind that has a quarterback that's good enough. They have the best wide receiver.
So are you a Darnold believer? Are you a Darnold believer? Is that what you're saying?
So this is how I'm going to start prefacing these questions. I'm a Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold believer. They have to come together. I'm a Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan believer. I'm a Patrick Mahomes believer. I don't care where he's at. If you start pairing up these guys with the right guys, apparently I'm a Malik Willis and Matt LaFleur believer.
I just sit here and say, with Minnesota, who has had 2 incredibly impressive wins at their place. Let's see what they do on the road in the division. If they don't beat Green Bay, and we don't know if Love's going or not, but if it's Willis, it's a 2.5-point line. Vikings are getting the points.
Who's a tougher division in the AFC North?
The AFC North, without question. Just because the Bengals started out 0-3, that's okay. So that's Bengals, Bears. I'll take Ravens.
The Browns stink.
The Browns have one bad player.
Stinks.
You're crazy if you think the NFC North is the best division in football right now. Lions just lost at their place to the Bucs, who just lost to the Broncos. It's just September football, baby. Let's see where the purple people eaters are in January. I know where Pittsburgh's going to be.